Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn Trong with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar hosted by the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Decathlon. Before we begin, I'll quickly go over some of the webinar features. For audio, you have a couple options. You can either listen through your computer or telephone. If you choose to listen through your computer, please select the mic and speakers option in the audio pane. By doing so, we'll eliminate the possibility of feedback and echo. If you select the telephone option, a box you should already see on the right side with the telephone number and PIN. Panelists, we ask that you please mute your audio device while you're not presenting. If you have difficulties today with the webinar, you can contact the GoToWebinar's help desk for assistance. Throughout the webinar today, you can enter a question at any time in the questions pane. If you are having difficulties, we are recording today's webinar and they will be available on the Groups.io site. And now for today's presentation. Our webinar today is Solar Decathlon 2019 Design Challenge, Prepare Your Progress Report. Our speakers today are Rachel Romero, Project Leader and Energy Engineer at NREL, also the Design Challenge Manager. Sam Rashkin, DOE Building Technologies Office Chief Architect and Solar Decathlon Co-Director, Sean Copeland with the Pennsylvania State University, and Zachary Peterson with NREL. I'd like to welcome Rachel to start today's presentation.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you all for attending the webinar today. Again, my name is Rachel Romero, and I am an engineer here at NREL. I am here today to help your team understand the competition so that you're competing successfully. Today we have a lot of great information for you. Sam Rashkin, the Chief Architect in the Building Technologies Office and Solar Decathlon Co-Director, is going to give us some enthusiasm to kick off the webinar. Myself and Zach will talk about some of the details of the competition and the design challenge specifically. And then we'll have a presentation by Sean Copeland, a past student. Then we'll talk very specifically about your project progress report submission and end with Q&A. So with that, Sam?
Hey, thank you, Rachel. It's so good to be here. And I am happy to talk about the success in the design challenge. But first, I want to congratulate all the students who are competing this year. Now in our 6th year, I can't believe how much the design competition has grown from a pretty humble beginning, just 30 teams applying, 33 teams applying, to now over 80 teams apply. And we've reached thousands of students, and the growth formula was really simple. Simply stated, we knew all we do with this competition is really provide so much value to the students that their careers and lives moving forward would be truly enhanced. All the fun, the camaraderie, the learning and sharing with peers is all a bonus. So congratulations for being part of something that's an amazing experience for students now going into our 6th year. And what you see right ahead of us is the map of all the students in North America who are participating in the competition. You can see now from our very first map, if we had it, how much we've grown and expanded across the country and in Canada. It's an incredible representation of so many impressive universities, and you should be proud to be part of this competition. But it's not just Canada. If you look at globally, the interest in this competition, we're across 6 continents and have increasingly every year more interest in this competition. And that's amazing because we don't promote this competition outside of the US and Canada. What's so important to this is it shows that our first goal for this competition is substantially being achieved, which is to integrate building science into the professional curriculum for architects and construction managers and engineers all across the US and actually globally. And with this kind of map, you see that, in fact, that's happening. The second goal is to inspire students to truly engage in sustainable building careers. And we have 3 students I like to profile as examples how just that happened. The first student is Thomas Simpson. And Thomas is truly one of my favorites because he is a participant in the very first competition in 2014. He's from Auburn University. I remember the blue team. And Thompson got hired by a friend of mine, a developer in Chicago, who wanted to expand his business to be a digital business. And Thomas Simpson has gone over to a company where he is truly innovating the housing industry. They're developing digital solutions for both on the production side, how you manage construction, and on the entire design and construction document phase, how you digitize the entire process. And not just digitize the process. It's not worth digitizing housing designs unless they're BIM worthy, unless they're so well developed. So Thomas is getting this amazing experience actually disrupting the entire housing industry with this company. So amazing career path looking forward. Another student who's also a very keen favorite of mine is Lena Burkett. Lena got hired, I think, at the second or third competition. She's from Appalachian State. A colleague of mine, Eric Whirling, was astute enough to recognize how talented she was and brought her on here at the Department of Energy with the Building America program. And she has since continued with the Building America program, but now working at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. An amazing career path. But most importantly, what's significant about Lena is what she's doing is getting to work at the hub of innovation for the housing industry, the Building America program. The housing industry is so fragmented with thousands and thousands of individual producers who don't have, because of their fragmented nature, the resources and competency to do research, not because they're bad companies, they're just not set up to do research. And so the Building America program is a hub of research, and she's right there at the helm working with Eric, developing amazing new proven innovations for the housing industry and helping to get them to the industry. So she has an amazing, amazing career moving forward from being a student competitor years ago. And the final student I want to hire is Nathan Carr, also a favorite of mine because he's working with one of our favorite zero energy ready home builders, Thrive Home Builders. Nathan, also from Appalachian State, a couple of years ago was in the competition. G. Myers, who is the president of Thrive Home Builders, recognized his talent and brought him onto their company. And Nathan is in fact the future of the home building industry, where every home builder will have an in-house building science expert. Building science effectively determines whether the building will work or fail. And to not have a building science expert in-house, or at least on retainer, is a big missing piece for any builder who doesn't take on that path. So Nathan is the future of the way the housing industry will work. And being with such an innovative builder has been an amazing experience for him. Thrive is exploring new concepts in envelope technology using a Building America research system where you use OSB panels instead of framing to create the enclosure. He's developing new systems with insulated concrete panels. He's looking at all sorts of other innovations and how to optimize zero energy ready home performance with such a successful home builder who was the production builder of the year last year. So you can see that these students have really come out of the competition and had success they would never have had they not been a student competitor. So we're so excited for you to be part of this competition. The very next step is critically important because it will determine your path moving forward in the competition. So I hope you pay attention to all the details, and I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel.
Thanks, Sam. These professionals are really inspiring. Okay, we are going to walk through some high-level details of the design challenge before diving into more information about the project progress report. So, a reminder, the competition provides the information teams need to participate. You can find the competition guide on the Solar Decathlon website as well as the groups.io. To get started, make sure you're reading through the entirety of section 2 of the competition guide. And this continues to be your reference throughout the competition, so please keep referring back to it. So there have been minor revisions that were actually released yesterday based on questions that we've received and to ensure clarity to all the competing teams. In particular, many items that were attachments or only available on the groups.io or separately on the website are incorporated into the guide, such as the commercial spaces EUI table. So we will be sending out a groups.io post shortly with more information on this new issue of the guide. Before you complete your project progress report submission, we recommend you go back to the basics and go back to that competition guide. Within each of the divisions, all of the projects revolve around some similar principles. Each team begins by defining a specific location, building lot, or site, and neighborhood characteristics as the context for the building design and its relationship to surrounding structures in the communities. Make sure you convey to all the reviewers all this information so they understand the problem statement that your team has set out to solve. Teams are able to develop a new design or upgrade an existing design and also do retrofits. So please ensure any retrofits or upgrades continue to meet the division definition in which you are competing. Then make sure that you're demonstrating to the reviewers how your team has effectively integrated building science principles and best practice guidelines into your building systems. Also in your project, you should demonstrate that you are relevant to the market that your team specified to begin with. So here we are kind of on a short timeline to the end of the design challenge for 2019. On February 19th, 2019, all teams are required to submit a project progress report. Based on that review, up to 48 finalist teams, 8 in each of the 6 divisions are selected and invited to compete further with a final project report and presentation of their design at Design Challenge Weekend, which is held April 12th through 14th at the NREL campus. So once you've submitted your project progress report, teams then submit their project report on March 26th to the organizers for us to share with the jurors for preliminary reviews before coming to NREL for Design Challenge Weekend. Then, after March 26th, the April 9th deadline, you submit your project presentations, your poster, and the optional film on April 9th. And then we'll see you on April 12th. New this year, teams that complete the project progress report but are not selected to participate as finalists are still invited to send one attendee to the competition to present a poster. So every team should plan to finish their project. A few reminders as we talk through. So before you finish your project progress report, check out the Design Challenge contests again. In terms of energy performance, have you looked at end uses of energy? Have you shared your energy score, whether it be HERS or EUI, with and without renewable energy? Energy performance is a primary focus, and you will see energy themes in all of the contests. Engineering, have you thought about the plumbing system that will fit into your building? Make sure you look at all effective integration of the systems into the building at your progress where you are today. Financial feasibility, has your team thought through how to meet your declared target market? The reviewers want to understand that you have or will rationally cost your project. Resilience, how will your project anticipate, withstand, respond to, or recover from disruptions? Architecture, has your team taken the climate into consideration? As Sam showed us earlier in the year, architecture is really important in high performance buildings. Operations, did your team select appropriate appliances for the space? Do you have plans for minimal maintenance or other plans for operations? Market potential, how does the interior complement the exterior design? Does the floor plan fit the intended occupant that you've selected? Comfort and environmental quality, tell us about how your HVAC system is designed. Innovation is interpreted differently by each team, and the jurors and reviewers recognize that. Share with the reviewers what your team did that was truly innovating from system design to program. And presentation. Does your document meet the requirements in the guide? Was it submitted on time? We'll talk more about that coming up. So, Design Challenge Weekend culminates with the competition event in April. 48 finalist teams will be invited to compete in person. Information is provided to teams now about the competition event for planning purposes. An agenda is currently available on the groups.io site. The event provides a rich experience for on-site participants through networking opportunities and attending other team and professional presentations. All students who are on-site can present. We encourage all students who are on-site to participate in the team presentation, but faculty cannot participate in that particular part. So the organizers expect at least 1 and up to 5 students total from each team to attend in person, and then 1 faculty advisor. After finalist teams are selected, event registration will open to indicate who will be attending from each team. The organizers do not provide financial assistance for lodging or travel expenses, but we do have a block of rooms at a hotel near the NREL campus that will be available at a discounted rate. Note that we do provide a lot of meals and snacks at no cost over the weekend through our generous sponsor donations. And then the poster session also encourages collaboration across the contest and an opportunity to see all the teams in one location during the competition. All right. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Assistant Competition Manager, Zach Peterson. Zach?
Thank you, Rachel. Now we're going to cover additional details to help your team be successful. Next slide. Each team needs to submit a team roster, one for each team per division. The team roster template can be found on the groups.io project site. As your team is formed, you can resubmit updated team rosters as often as needed. Make sure to change the submission date and the file name before resubmitting. Next slide. At this time, all of your team members should be invited to the groups.io project site. This portal is used as the main form of communication during the competition. When you join the groups.io portal project site, you'll be invited to the Solar Decathlon site as well. This will be used for announcements for the competition as a whole. There are links to both the design challenge, which you have been granted access to, and the build challenge. Please let the organizers know if this is not working. Next slide. There's a dedicated design challenge group on the groups.io project site. This groups.io project site continues to provide updated information throughout the competition preparation. For new files posted, the organizers will post a message that you will receive through your email. Additionally, you can view all archived messages on the groups.io project site at any time. Next slide. The groups.io project site provides a calendar which is found on the left side menu. This calendar has all of the relevant deadlines for the competition, and we recommend that you add these events to your personal calendars to keep track of them. Next slide. Under the Messages tab, you will find messages from the Solar Decathlon organizers. This will include information about upcoming webinars, links to webinar recordings and PDFs, and competition announcements. Please check out the existing messages if you have not already seen them, and note there are additional messages under the Solar Decathlon groups.io page as well. Next slide. Under the Files tab, your team will find a folder of webinar recordings and slides, as well as other important competition documents. Be sure to check out the energy modeling tools and sponsor resource folders. When documents are added, the organizers will post a message about new files. We hope you'll find the groups.io portal, groups.io project site useful as you begin your building design. Next slide. To help students engage in the design challenge, the organizers offer several educational resources. The building science training is offered, as well as several competition information-specific webinars. The REM-Rate software is available for download now, and the organizers have a code for use to extend the use of the license through the end of the project. Our sponsors provide resources that are posted to the groups.io site, such as lighting calculator and information on spray polyurethane foam. Check out the resource document if you are in need of material in a particular contest area. Finally, winning presentations and designs from past years are available to give teams an idea of the competition deliverables. Please note that the contests change from year to year. Next slide. All of the team members must complete a free building science training offered. All students listed on the team roster should have access to the training. The training is available online, on demand, and covers the principles of high-performance buildings as taught by renowned industry leaders. Upon completion of each video, students will be prompted to answer a few comprehensive questions. Upon completion of the entire set of videos, a certificate will be provided to show completion. Alternatively, the building science requirement may be waived by the team's faculty lead with confirmation of equivalency for courses the student has successfully completed as indicated on the team roster. Next slide. The organizers provide software for building modeling in the competition. For residential divisions, REMRate is available at no charge to the teams. Check the groups.io project site for more information. OpenStudio is a tool provided for commercial divisions. Packages for both the elementary school and office building are available now for assistance in modeling. Next slide. Per the 2019 Solar Decathlon Competition Guide, in the Design Challenge section 2.4.3, teams are expected to complete a financial analysis and provide explanations for numbers entered in the project. Thanks to Gordian's sponsorship, the students have the opportunity to use RSMeans costing database at no cost. Each Solar Decathlon team is allocated one license, which is tied to a single email address. So please carefully select one user within the team to obtain the license. Register here via the link in this webinar to request a license. Also check out their on-demand and weekly live webinars. A complete financial analysis is not required until the Design Challenge project report. Questions on the RSMeans tool can be directed to RSMeans customer support at the main number, and you can see groups.io for more information. Next slide. Great, so now we'll hear from Sean Copeland. Sean Copeland is a senior majoring in energy engineering at Penn State. He's worked on 2 Race to Zero projects and was a project leader for Pennsylvania State's first place suburban single-family design. Sean will be working with Arup doing sustainability consulting in the future. Sean?
Right. Thanks, Zach. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm going to give a disclaimer. So when I was participating in the project, it was the Race to Zero. So if I say that by accident, I actually mean Design Challenge or Solar Decathlon. Next slide. So as Zach said, our team participated in the suburban single family competition, and here you can see us with Rachel and Sam as well. And I'm going to give you an overview of our progress report that we submitted today, and hopefully give you some a little bit more of a direction to take yours or hints or something like that. Next slide. So this is the image that we used for the cover of our report, and this was not the house that we actually ended up designing. This was more so a image that kind of encompassed the goals that we had set up, and we thought that this house reflected what our goals would look like. So at this point in the competition, you're not supposed to have a completely finished house by any means. So this is kind of just a way to show a visual representation of your ideas and goals. Next slide. And this is what our house actually ended up looking like. So there's a lot of similarities there and things that transition from one to the other, but we were nowhere near the complete design that we have shown here. Next slide. So to start, we have the project summary, and this is an area where you pretty much just have a brief overview of your project, and this is the first introduction that anyone has. So you can talk about if you have a partner or if whatever competition that you are specifically in, and this is just to give an introduction. And then for the relevance of the project to the goals of the competition, this is where you really get an understanding of what the competition is trying to build towards. So for us, we were looking at kind of changing the market and introducing more net zero homes there. So that's where we saw the connection between the competition and our goals. So this is a good area where you can really understand what the competition is looking for and where your home aligns with that. Next slide. Ooh, one back. Can you go one more back? Sorry. Cool, thank you. So for design strategy and key points, we started by analyzing the different stakeholders in the competition. And for our design strategy, something that was really important for us was creating an informed design. So we went through and came up with the goals of each of the separate stakeholders so that we could describe it here and it could be shown in our design later. So anytime we made a design decision, we would be able to go back, or whoever's reading the document would be able to go back and have a better understanding of where that came from. Next slide. And then the project data and technical specifications is organized in this way because it's important information that whoever's reading the document is likely looking for. So having it legible and easy to find is a way that kind of directs their eye there, where they can find the climate zone, whatever competition you're in, and the things that you're doing throughout the building. So this doesn't need to be a full page technical document. It's just important things that you're going to be implementing in your house. Next slide. The team description is a interesting part for all the teams because a lot of the teams are set up in different ways. So this could be run as a club, it could be a class. So this is where you kind of are able to describe the way that you are doing it. So if you're doing anything that's unique or extra, because we all put in a lot of extra work into this, you really want to call that out, because if you don't call that out, then whoever's reading the document doesn't know that you even did that. So an example of that for us was we did a wall building party where we had students come in and actually build different wall sections to get a better understanding of the constructability. And that's something that we could have just taken as a learning experience for us, but we really wanted to show the judges that this is something that we did to create a more well-rounded design that actually took into account the constructability. So if you're doing anything that's special or just extra that you want to throw in there, this is a good spot to do that. Next slide. And for this part, we had a really diverse team in terms of majors and disciplines. So we wanted to show that not only was our team diverse, but we were working with a diverse group of faculty. So that's why we kind of organized this section that way to be able to call that out. Next slide. And here we got into detail to kind of start framing the narrative that we wanted to go after with our project partner. So here, this is an area where it can be kind of considered character development for a film, where if you poorly introduce your partner, then your project in the end won't make any sense. So we wanted to give a good introduction showing who they are, where they build, how many homes they build, just so that the reader is more informed on the target that we're actually going for. Next slide. And along with this, so this is all the progress report, but you can also focus on the future as well. So you have gone through all these steps, but you also have a plan for the future. So we wanted to call that out to show that we had the next steps planned in order to have a successful design in the end. Next slide. And to further the narrative of our client and who we were working with, we found it important to show exactly what they build. So here you can see their neighborhood style. And we wanted to frame a better understanding of who the target audience was for this home, so that at the end, when you see our home design, you know that it makes sense backtracking to what they currently build, because they're already successful with that. So it's important to show the connection between the two. And on the right, you can see the map is showing where they build along with the median family incomes in the area. And that really helped us frame who we were going after with these homes. Next slide. And last, you have the team goals. So we've been talking about team goals throughout the presentation, and that should be mentioned throughout, but this is a good section where you can get a little bit deeper. And all the other parts of this report for us, we're building up all this information, and this is where we can show that we use that information to create a informed set of plans and goals where we can take that to the next step for our building. And below, you can see this is pretty much where we were at with the complete design with those houses. Is we had a session where we just had people draw houses and draw the classic American home. So that's where that stemmed from. And the house on the left isn't where we were at this point. We were more in between there, where we had the goals and we had the idea and it just needed to transform. So by no means do you need a final house right now. It's just having these goals and the plan moving forward to do it is a good thing to have. And next slide.
Am we missing a slide?
Nope, that's it. Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. That was really insightful. I think it helps our teams to understand kind of what's expected, and your team was obviously very successful in the competition and a finalist and then a first place winner, so we appreciate that. All right, so now we're going to cover some additional details about the project progress report to help your team be successful for this particular milestone. So at this time, you've now completed your project introduction, possibly, and so now we are going into the project progress report, which is in progress. Make sure to check out the next webinar for where we will talk about the complete project report as well. Please note that when teams are looking at 2018 documents like Sean's and Penn State's from past winners, that the project submissions rules have changed. So make sure to follow the up-to-date information in the rules. All right, some first information to incorporate. The organizers shared important feedback with the teams about the project intros, and the full text can be reviewed on the groups.io project site. But in summary, make sure that you have a project summary, and you should start with a 2-page template, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then think of this template as a standalone summary about your project, so that it could stand alone and talk about your project, just those 2 pages. We did provide an example project summary, and we'll talk more about that. The organizers encourage full use of the submission page limit. So the upcoming project progress report submission is 10 pages. And you can see in Sean's example that they filled every page. So we encourage you to use that, but not go beyond it, with relevant information and informative images. Most teams submitted a PDF for the project introduction, but the guide instructs teams to submit a bookmarked PDF. So there's instructions on the groups.io about that. And then Sean talked a little bit about this as well, but make sure you clearly state how your submission meets the competition requirements. This helps to ensure that the judges review your submission accurately. And then resilience is important. It is a contest, and we want to make sure that all teams are reviewing that. Whether resilience is different for every project, so we want to hear how you're incorporating it in your project. Oh, a few more on that. So make sure you review the contest as we talked about earlier. Successful teams demonstrate an understanding in every contest area, and they'll demonstrate their diversity and innovation in terms of design and technological choices, as well as the building's location. And finally, professional publications are often reviewed several times by multiple different people to ensure they're free of spelling and grammatical errors. We encourage you to work with your industry partners and advisors to review your final products to ensure they're of a high professional caliber. Okay, onto the project summary. So the teams integrate the project summary into the project progress report and your project report. So this 2 pages can evolve throughout the competition, but the content on these should be consistent in terms of having these 2 pages in both submissions. So we have a template for you available on the groups.io, and there are some past project summaries that are available from past years as well. So the template uses filler text as a placeholder for the content that your team inserts. It is understood that some of these may be aspirations or considerations at this point, and that these will continue to develop to your final project. Teams are welcome to incorporate your own report formatting into this document, but please ensure that the key components are integrated into these 2 pages. You could kind of see that in Sean's, that they had these 2 pages, but they had their own report formatting around that. The organizers have shared an example project summary to help teams accurately represent their designs in these 2 pages. The example is for the research support facility that hopefully your team will get to visit during Design Challenge weekend. So make sure to check that example out. All right, participants in the Design Challenge generate creative solutions for real-world issues, and we want to make sure that teams complete a design project and attend the competition event where you will present to the jurors. So the Design Challenge encourages, make sure that your design can only be used for one active team application, and that if your school has multiple teams, that teams have substantially different designs for each, regardless of the challenge or the division. All right, on February 19th, your project progress report is due. Also, at that date, your building science training must be completed, or you must submit a new roster showing equivalent curriculum has been taken with a faculty signature. We will notify up to 48 finalist teams by March 1st, and then the competition event registration opens to let the organizers know who from your team will be in attendance. And then in early April, March 26th, finalist teams submit the project report, project presentations, and poster submissions in April. So for the project progress report, the format requirements are as follows. So the project progress report is essentially the front end. It's the first 10 pages of your project report, and therefore it follows the same format requirements. We ask that it be no longer than 10 pages to ensure that it's not too many pages for the reviewers to look at. It should be a single bookmarked PDF. The front matter of the project progress report includes your cover, table of contents, and list of tables and figures. Those are not included in your page count. Then it is your updated project introduction, and the project introduction included 2 pages for that project summary and 3 pages of additional information. You should update those pages to reflect your current project. Then the design constraints. This is 1 to 3 pages, and share details and images with the organizers that help us understand the design constraints. So Sean showed a map. He showed a table with the median family income. Those are examples of things that could be included under design constraints. Please note that this first part is your project introduction, so review that, go back to that deliverable and the content that was included in that. Update those pages to reflect your current project. So the design goals are a next page, 1 page. Summarize the goals you were hoping to achieve as you looked at your design. And then the last page is your plans for completing the project. This is new this year. Share with us how you plan to use the next 6 weeks to get your completion and get to the project report. Sean showed an excellent example of this in that timeline, but we want to know how you're going to get to the project report and what you need to do between submitting the project progress report and the deadline of the project report. Note that this page is not included in your project report. Instructions for bookmarking PDF files. The competition guide states that the format for deliverables is a single bookmarked PDF. To help in making your submissions qualify, instructions have been compiled on how to successfully create bookmarked PDFs, and it is posted on the groups.io. And here's an example in our project summary of a bookmarked PDF. The guide outlines the instructions for the electronic file naming. The collegiate short name list can be found on the groups.io project site. Here's an example for naming convention. This shows the name of the challenge. Ours is DC Design Challenge. The division, in this case, attached housing. Each division has an abbreviation. The school, this is for Prairie View A&M, which is PVAMU. And then the date of, the deliverable document, and this is their presentation, so it says present, and then the date of the document. So this file naming convention helps the organizers ensure they are looking at the correct documents from your team, because there are a lot of documents that are submitted at these dates. The collegiate short name list is posted to the groups.io project site. Please note that the short name takes into account if two schools have the same initials, we make sure that those are different, and that if schools are competing together, we want to note that there are two schools competing together. So please review this for your electronic file naming documents. All right. File submission. So you post your project progress report to the Design Challenge Dropbox link. This link is also posted to the groups.io in the messages. We encourage teams to submit early to ensure that the organizers receive your project progress report. Late submissions will count against your submission status. The person who submits the document, that individual, and the organizers receive a confirmation email when the document is received. Please retain that email within your team. If more than one is submitted, say you submit 2 project progress reports, the organizers will review only the last received final from that team. A design can only be used for one active application. All right. The reviewers will receive your project progress reports and evaluate them based on the criteria as it is published in the Design Challenge rules. First, did your team comply with the definition for your division? Did you meet the Zero Energy Ready home requirements in the residential divisions? Or did you include all the correct space types in the office building? That's compliance with the division definition. Next, did your team submission comply with the formatting requirements in the rules? During Design Challenge weekend, our jurors need to fairly evaluate teams. And when that information is presented consistently from team to team, this ensures that they accurately evaluate your team. So we're looking for compliance with submission formatting. Next, did you do a comprehensive review of your target market and design strategy and goals? We're looking to learn more about that. Continuing with the evaluation criteria, teams should complete a full 10 pages of information. Tell us how far you are along in your design. We do review the quality of the design as well. And then, did your team consider the building science issues of the climate you're working in? Finally, the organizers review other factors, such as geographical locations and technology choices to optimize program diversity and fairness. So this is what the reviewers will be looking for in your project progress report and evaluating each team on. Based on the project progress report evaluation, up to 8 teams per division are invited to participate in the final competition. Teams that complete the project progress report but are not selected to participate as finalists at the Design Challenge weekend are invited to send one attendee to the competition to present a project poster, provided that team completes the project report on time. So now what? Keep working. There's only from February 19th to March 26th is about 5 weeks. And we want to make sure that you keep working after you submit your project progress report. And then do ensure that your roster is updated with the organizers, as the faculty lead and student lead will receive information about finalist teams and non-finalist teams. So that was a lot of information. We have a few other items. Thank you to those who have been using the hashtag SolarEdgeDecathlon design post. Looks like we have the Appalachian State team has posted, along with the Virginia Tech team. We encourage you to share your excitement with using the hashtag SolarEdgeDecathlon and hashtag SolarEdgeDecathlon design. We love to see what progress you're making and the work you're doing. Thank you again to our host sponsors, Ingersoll Rand and SolarEdge. Ingersoll Rand gave a fantastic webinar that is posted to the groups.io project site. And they also gave teams access to TrainTrace 3D, so make sure to check that out. SolarEdge will have a webinar next week, so make sure to check out the announcement of that webinar next on the groups.io. Thank you to our 2019 Design Challenge sponsors. These are our education level sponsors, and they provide key elements throughout the Design Challenge weekend and provide key programs. Make sure to check out the webinar from December, and they've also shared a sponsor resource letter with the teams that is available on the groups.io site. So here's the SolarEdge webinar announcement. That's next Wednesday, February 13th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they're going to talk about solar topology, products, benefits, and share with you some information about the Designer app, and you can register for that online. Our next competition webinar will be Organize the Project Report, and that will be March 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can register for that today as well. So with that, thank you for attending, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Great, thanks Rachel, thanks Sam, thanks Sean, and thanks Zach. We'll just go ahead and start our question and answer session now. So Rachel and Zach, there's a question about the template. You said that it was, the template is already available on the groups.io, or will it be posted soon?
We will make sure it's posted, and I'll make sure to send out when we do the guide. We'll include a link to the template today or early tomorrow.
Great. Another question involved the page limit. So when you mentioned not exceeding the page limit, will teams be penalized for exceeding it, or will they be disqualified if they exceed the page limit?
Great question. So the page limit is for 10 pages of content as outlined in the guide. So your cover, table of contents, list of figures, list of tables are not included in that page limit. If there are more than 10 pages, reviewers will be instructed not to review past that point. So if there is key information that the reviewers are looking for that are on pages 11 and 12, they will not review that information. So your team, we've had teams submit before that go past that, but sometimes their vital information is on those pages and the reviewers do not get it. So it will count against you in the end.
Hey, Rachel, this is Zach. Just to back up to the last question here, I just went on the groups.io site and looked under files, and within the competition guide attachments folder, you can find the project summary template right now. So if you go on the SolarEdge groups.io project site, under the files in the competition guide attachments, that's where you can find the project summary template.
Thanks, Zach.
Great, thank you. The next question is about interior design. Is interior design an important aspect of the final presentation? And if so, what category would it be in?
Interior design is not as important as the project progress report, but it will be important in terms of the final project report. It's part of architecture. You can find a statement, I believe, under the architecture, and there might be a piece under market potential as well, market appeal. So look through that area. Great question.
Okay, great. And the next question is about the timeline again. So after the project progress report is due, what is the next deadline for the team?
The project progress report is due February 19th, and then the next deadline for teams is March 26th. In between those two dates, though, the organizers have their own deadlines where they will respond to the teams in terms of if teams are finalists and are invited to come to the NREL Design Challenge Weekend at NREL.
Okay, and do you have an estimate on when those teams will be notified?
You'll be notified by March 1st. Via your
Great.
faculty lead and student lead.
Okay, great. Also, just a couple more questions. For the project progress report that is due just in a few weeks, what are some other advice for the teams that made other past project progress reports stand out?
Let's see here. Help the reviewers get to know your team. Sean talked about how he and his team did a wall build day. One other team said they visited their industry partner. We want to know what you're doing to engage with this project, even if we had a very successful team meeting and engaged all these disciplines. We want to know the story behind your project. How are you effectively working with the community, or how is your project going to impact a builder you're working with? So tell us the story that I know a lot of you are working on, and how that story impacts your project.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rachel. The last question is about the reviewers of the project progress reports. Are they the same as the jurors who are going to be reviewing the presentations at the Design Challenge weekend in April?
The Design Challenge weekend jurors, or Design Challenge jurors, are a different set of reviewers than the project progress report reviewers. So the project progress report reviewers are people who work in residential and commercial buildings and on the organizer team, and are looking more to completion of your project and where your project is going, and are looking for the top teams in each category rather than judging who is first place. So jurors at Design Challenge Weekend are the top of the industry. They're great examples. There are industry sponsors. They're a very engaged group of people that want to get to know you and your project even more. And they're fabulous volunteers. So different groups.
Great, thank you. That wraps up our question and answer session, but as Rachel mentioned, feel free to reach out to any of the organizers through the emails that you see on the screen. Would any of our speakers like to say a few closing remarks before we end the webinar today?
Thanks,
Great.
and good luck, teams. We look forward to seeing your project progress reports and answering your questions in the meantime.
Great. Zach, anything else?
I would just ditto that. I'm excited to meet the teams and see the work you guys have been progressing on over this past few weeks.
All right, great. Thanks so much. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. Have a great week.